Our Week 9 recaps begins with Jeff Fisher welcoming back his old team. Two teams actually losing after having leads of 21 points and 18 points at halftime.
That can't happen. It's the NFL, right?
One quarterback actually throws for a record 7 touchdowns.
Aaron Rodgers.
And actually, we'll talk about that too. More to come on this week's episode of Sports Club. Let's talk about this Thursday night game. Stop it. The Thursday night game with Cincinnati and Miami, really, really good game.
Very competitive game.
Both quarterbacks played well. Both defenses played well. And actually, the game ended on a defensive sack for a safety.
Safety.
In overtime.
I believe it's only the second or third time that's ever happened in the NFL.
Third time overall. I mean, that's...
You know, I said this last year, and it just seems like it keeps repeating itself this year. Don't Thursday night games seem to be so competitive? Extremely competitive. I think Thursday night games the past 2 seasons, in my humble opinion, have been better than the Monday night games.
I wouldn't say the Monday... Well, yeah. More than likely, the Monday night games. Yeah. Most definitely. 22-20 final scores of the game with Miami winning.
In my opinion, one of the better games.
And in a game that was overshadowed by just a whole bunch of crap.
And NFL records.
Yeah.
Just weird stuff in NFL records.
Minnesota at Dallas. This game was really, really competitive the entire game.
It shouldn't have been.
Adrian Peterson went off.
Christian Ponder looked good.
Yeah, he looked good. He didn't look fantastic. He looked like, let's just say he looked like Alex Smith. He managed the game well. Agreed. He didn't do anything stupid to give the game away very much. Dallas actually had to compete late in the game to actually go up and win.
Romo threw an interception late, but then he drove down. Last chance he got, drove down, threw a touchdown at the end of the game. Dallas should have never been in that position.
I agree.
Dallas was coming off a heartbreaking loss. They were playing a horrendous Minnesota team at home. They should have put the stake in their hearts early on in the game and never let the Vikings have a chance in this game, and they didn't. They just didn't do it.
We're going into Week 10 of the NFL season, and Tampa Bay and Minnesota are 2 teams that have not won in the United States this year.
So are the Jaguars.
And the Jaguars, excuse me. 3 teams.
We forget about them.
Because there's no points.
Between those 3 teams, they have 1 win.
Overseas.
Yeah.
There's no wins in the United States.
That's awful.
27-23 final score. Tennessee actually goes into St. Louis, beats Jeff Fisher in his own game, 28-21. Both quarterbacks played... Man.
Yeah, Zach Stacy looked good again for the St. Louis Rams. I think that's one of the positives they can take away from this season is I think they have a running back that's here to stay. It's going to complement Sam Bradford when he comes back healthy next year pretty well.
Yeah, and on the other side of the ball, Jake Locker was back this game. Mm-hmm. He looked,
Yeah, okay.
Didn't throw 200 yards, didn't throw a touchdown. Chris Johnson, though.
152 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's one of those running backs that in space – you can see what he has. He still has the speed, but he's not one of those running backs that makes his own yardage. He needs help.
Kansas City Chiefs continue to win 23-13. Although the way that they continue to win is actually weird. They didn't score a single offensive touchdown in this game.
Yeah, both the touchdowns came from their defense.
What?
I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs this year are kind of like the Denver Broncos when Tim Tebow was playing for them. They're deceivingly good.
Yes, that's a valid point.
Yeah, the offense is not good, but they get put in positions by their defense to win. And they haven't – I don't think they've played one game against a team that has an above 500 record. I could be incorrect in that, but off the top of my head, I don't believe they've played a team that has above 500 record.
Buffalo, on the other hand, looked good. They actually continue to play really good defense.
Tool looked
obviously,
decent.
I mean, yeah. And obviously they played good enough defense considering Kansas City didn't score at all on offense.
I think you got to take the positives away from this game if you're the Buffalo Bills. You didn't allow an offensive touchdown, and Tool looked decent for a third-string quarterback. I think is what he is.
Undrafted free agent. Yeah,
he did all right. So you got to take the positives out of this game.
New Orleans loses to the Jets, which I don't think many people saw coming. I know you said that was going to happen.
Me?
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
The Jets' defense played phenomenal in this game.
The Jets
they just took away Jimmy Graham for the most part, took away most of the downfield threats, and actually made Drew Brees dump and throw.
Yeah. Well, the NFL's a matchup league, and Jimmy Graham, I know he had 2 touchdowns in this game, but he didn't look like the Jimmy Graham that we know when he's healthy. Darren Sproles is out. He creates a matchup nightmare when he's paired up against the linebackers. And Marcus Colston was also hurt. So that's, 3 of your guys that are down that create matchups, and that's what the NFL is, a matchup game. The Jets have quietly put together a terrific defense that is really formidable, and don't look now, but they're in striking distance of a playoff spot.
And don't look now, Jets are going to lose next week just simply because they win on alternating weeks.
Mm-hmm. And you saw Geno Smith had a total of 8 completions. 8, and they still won the game.
And we'll talk more about that just to compare the phenomenal idea of what's to come with the Philly quarterback. San Diego and Washington, this game was really, really good, really close.
Mm-hmm.
Both Phillip Rivers and RG3 played really well. Alfred Morris went off.
Yep, the century mark. Phillip Rivers had 340-something yards. Very competitive game. Very good game.
The problem here, San Diego actually had a 1st and goal on the 1-foot line.
Yeah, like quarter
and
inch.
Could not get the ball across the goal line.
You know who I bet could have helped them? Their old friend Mike Tolbert.
Who we'll talk about a little bit later. 30-24 in overtime, final score. Washington wins.
Do you think Washington just won this game, but do you think this might ease some of the pressure on RG3? I know a lot of the fans have been clamoring for Kirk Cousins to come and play. Do you think this eases some pressure off of RG3? Don't think so?
No. No, I think that RG3 needs to continue to perform the way he performed last year in order for the people in Washington, to actually get off of his back.
That's a tall order.
Let's talk about this record-breaking or record-tying game.
This doesn't even make sense.
Philadelphia goes into Oakland, which is hard to do anyway. Once you go across country, it's hard to play an NFL game.
And especially Oakland. Oakland's kind of formidable place.
Yeah.
Not the most friendly confines.
Nick Foles throws 7 touchdowns. 7. 7 touchdowns.
7?
7.
As in 1 less touchdown than Geno Smith had completions?
As in more
about?
touchdowns than the Jaguars have had combined all season.
7.
Wow. Yeah. It's a tying game, and it was only the second quarterback since 1969 to actually, and I know you're going to go there, but it's only the second time that a quarterback has done it, and the second time this year that a quarterback has thrown 7 touchdowns.
And
Peyton Manning being the first one.
And he got the first quarterback to ever throw 7 touchdowns in 3 quarters. The thing that I don't understand is, how do you throw 7 touchdowns in 2 quarters in 3 minutes, and then the last roughly 27 minutes you can't muster 1 more to take that record? How do you do that?
It's Nick Foles.
How is that possible?
It's Nick Foles.
I mean, that's the epitome of Nick Foles. It truly is the epitome of Nick Foles.
49-20 final score. Philadelphia wins.
They won?
Philadelphia wins, yeah.
Oh, I thought Oakland came back and won.
No.
You sure?
Speaking of comebacks, let's talk about the Seattle comeback.
This was the comeback. I was 1 game too early.
Tampa Bay
won this, right? I turned it off at halftime. I didn't see the
95% winning.
Right? Yeah, they won, right?
No.
Nope. We're watching the same game?
Yeah.
They didn't win.
No.
So Seattle comes back.
Yeah.
So Tampa now has 4 games where they've had a 95% or higher winning probability in the second half and have lost the game.
Yep.
I feel bad for you, Matt. I mean, being a Cowboys fan sucks, but this year being a Buccaneers fan is just hard.
And actually, this year being an Atlanta fan doesn't really do us any good either.
You don't get any sympathy.
But no, we're having a horrible season, but I feel bad for Matt too, because that sucks.
Yeah,
27-24. Russell Martin. God bless it.
The guy from the Dodgers?
Russell Wilson.
I know you're excited about spring training,
Russell
man,
Wilson leads the second
down.
half comeback, wins 27-24. It was in Seattle, but, and Glennon played phenomenal.
Yeah,
He really did.
Yeah. That's what I asked Matt. I said, what are the Buccaneers going to do with the second pick overall in the draft? And, I said maybe Aaron Murray. He said, Glennon is a serviceable quarterback, which I agree with.
I'd still take Aaron Murray.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially after Schiano's gone this year.
Yeah, he's definitely gone.
Let's talk about the Carolina game that Bryce forgot to put up on our board. Carolina beats Atlanta 31-10.
I did that on purpose.
Carolina's defense continues to play really good ball. They were number 3 in the NFL going into the game. They continued to play well. Tony Gonzalez had the only touchdown. Tolbert had a touchdown. They went for it on 4th and 1 on the 17-yard line. Carolina did a just play action fake that ended up with a touchdown.
Yep.
It was really good game for Carolina.
Yep.
And they're playing good ball. They're going to be really challenging New Orleans now that they've got 2 losses. They're going to be challenging New Orleans now that they've got 2 losses for the NFC South title.
They'll be within a few games. I don't think they'll legitimately
look at the rest of the schedule for them. 31-10 final score. Carolina wins. Baltimore loses to Cleveland. Cleveland continues to play really good ball.
Baltimore sucks. I mean, that's all we can boil it down to.
Baltimore has lost, 3 straight now?
3 straight, yep.
That's
tough. I tell you what, that's a great decision paying Flacco $7,500 million. Good choice. Good choice. I mean, but what are you going to do as the Baltimore front office? You're not going to let your MVP Super Bowl winning quarterback walk. You're going to pay him. You're going to keep him. Teams have up and downs like this. It's all right. Just wait it out. The season is a wash. Talk to a Falcons fan. He knows all about that this season.
Look at the quarterbacks that were signed in the offseason. Flacco, teams 3-5.
Matt Flynn.
I'm talking to extensive deals.
Oh, all right.
Matt Ryan,
right?
2-6.
Mm-hmm.
Romo, right?
Yep.
Romo's actually the exception to this rule.
At 5-4.
And
5-4.
Let's also talk about Aaron Rodgers. Didn't Aaron Rodgers get an extension this year too? I thought he did.
I'm not 100% sure about that.
I thought he did, and he's hurt. And we'll talk about that here shortly. 24-18 final score. Baltimore loses to Cleveland.
Don't look now. Baltimore is only 2 games back of the division lead. I believe they hold the tiebreaker over the Bengals at the moment.
Against Pittsburgh? Let's talk about Pittsburgh real quick.
Who?
Pittsburgh. The other team in the AFC North.
Is about as relevant as the Buccaneers and Jaguars are this year.
Wow.
Yeah. They're a little
How does that taste, Pittsburgh fans? Wow.
Like something they probably hadn't had in a long time.
55-31 final score.
Oh, my God.
Tom Brady.
What is this, a college game?
Tom Brady played really well.
That is the most points the Pittsburgh defense has ever given up is 55. You think about Pittsburgh, you think about the Iron Curtain, you think about defenses that have just been extremely good and offensive that have just kind of put up a few points.
Mm-hmm.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, over the course of their franchise, are kind of a lot like the Kansas City Chiefs are this year. Really good defense and offense that puts up decent numbers.
Enough numbers to get by.
Exactly. And this year they have an atrocious defense and an offense that has nobody on it but Ben Roethlisberger, really.
Yep. Final score there was 55-31.
And believe in the first half, Tom Brady had more touchdown passes in the first half of this game than he has in the past 3 games combined.
That doesn't surprise me. Mm-hmm. The Sunday night game, Houston won this game, right?
No.
What?
My man.
They were up 21-3. You're telling me that they lost?
You could say that they choked at halftime.
We're talking about Houston. Right?
We are the Houston Texans.
We're not talking about the Tampa Bay game.
We are not. We are talking about. I mean, I'm sure some of their fans had a heart attack after this game from the way that the Colts came back.
Wow, Case Keenum played phenomenal.
He did. He played very well. The thing I like about Case Keenum is he'll take shots downfield.
Yeah.
Matt Schaub would not do that when he was in that offense. Matt Schaub would dump it down, look for his wide receivers in the flats, and that's fine. That's a serviceable quarterback. That's fine. But if you want to win a Super Bowl and you want to be relevant in the playoffs, that's not how you need to play football. I think Case Keenum should be their quarterback of the future. I legitimately think that they let Schaub go, let Schaub walk, and start Case Keenum.
And unfortunately for our law department that we have for Sports Club, Bryce decided to throw a little punch in there for Gary Kubiak, who left the game with a mini stroke.
Yeah, in all seriousness, hearts and prayers go out to the Kubiak family, as well as John Fox and his family.
John Fox had
two head coaches this week that have had serious problems.
And he was on bye.
Yeah, he was playing golf. So,
bless.
hearts and prayers go out with both of those coaches. Hope they make a speedy return. But you gotta think that played on their mentality in the second half. I mean, you see your head coach go down. I know Syracuse. We can kind of compare this to Syracuse in the Sweet 16. They had one of their players. I mean, that was just brutal, and it inspired that team.
Syracuse or
Louisville. Sorry, Louisville. Pardon me, Louisville. Louisville had a guy go down and really inspired that team. Kubiak went down and did the opposite. It just kind of depends on how your team is affected by it. Andrew Luck comes back, another comeback win. This is his 10th comeback win in a year and a half career.
Kid's good, man.
I'm calling it now. I think this is going to be Andrew Luck's first Super Bowl win.
2013-14.
Yep. I think this is going to be his year
in New York.
Yep. I know Reggie Wayne going out is a huge blow to that wide receiver core and that team, but I think T.Y. Hilton is ready to step up and become a premier wide receiver in the league.
Final score there is 27-24. Indy wins after that beating that they were taking at halftime. 27-20 is the final score in Monday Night Football. Chicago played really well.
This was a good game between two scrub teams.
The second passing or the second play of the game for Aaron Rodgers, he gets taken out, broken collarbone. Out 4 to 6 weeks. I know that hurts your fantasy, and that hurts a lot of people's fantasy, to be honest. But the game just – so what does Green Bay do? Here you go, Seneca Wallace. I had – they had Vince Young at the beginning of the year. You thought Seneca Wallace was better than Vince Young?
I loved when Seneca Wallace dropped back, stared in the eyes of the defensive end, and just threw it right to him. Oh, man. I mean, Seneca Wallace is awful.
He is.
What were they thinking?
Like I said, you chose Seneca Wallace over Vince Young. Did you really think that, okay, Vince Young was going to take more money, Seneca Wallace wasn't? Aaron Rodgers isn't going to go down. He's unbreakable. Let's start with the one that takes less money.
Well, I'll put it this way. If the Packers can make it to the playoffs and get healthy, get Randall Cobb back, get James Jones fully healthy, and get Aaron Rodgers fully healthy, I think they will make it to the Super Bowl.
They play, I think, two or three teams the remaining 8 games of the season that are above 500.
I think they play 3. I think they play the Lions, the Cowboys, and the Bears. I think that's the only 3 games they have left.
There you go.
But, I mean, you have Seneca Wallace as your quarterback, so do they play the Jaguars? Because they might lose. Seneca Wallace is atrocious.
That's it for our Week 9 recap. Be sure to check out our Week 10 preview coming up shortly. For Bryce, I'm Billy. Thanks, guys, for watching.